Hello guys, and welcome to Photo Friday. If you are new to the channel, this is the channel where we look at specifically photography and photos, but also film, any kind of visuals, and also visual arts. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And it's amazing if we actually start a little community and we can learn together and grow together. So for today, I thought it might be a great idea to actually talk about visual arts in grade 12. I'm a teacher, and I've been a teacher for the last 4 years at a school that teach IEB visual arts. And I've had a lot of questions through the years, what the subject's all about, how does it work, is it theory, is it practical, and that's the school bell, as you can hear. So I probably have about 10 minutes to talk to you, and then I'll have to teach. But yes, the IEB practical examination would be today's topic, and how do you actually approach it as a teacher, but also as a student, maybe some tips, and what does it actually entail. So the whole process works like this. In grade 12, in around about February, you will get a brief or a paper from the IEB with a certain theme. The theme we did, or the last theme we did this year, it was truth and fiction, and the IEB will give you some guidelines, and you'll have to be able to produce a final artwork or artworks and also a final drawing. Now your artwork would be year work, and you'll accumulate that and build that and create that in the duration of the year, where your final drawing would be created basically in a 24-hour period at your school. So accompanying that would be a visual diary or visual diaries, and that would obviously have some content. Then you would finish all of that, there would be a deadline, and an external moderator would come from the IEB, and they would actually mark your final work. One of the things that makes it kind of difficult is when you finish matric, you will not actually receive your practical mark. You'll have a final mark, or can I say combined mark. So it is important to know how this mark is actually compiled. And we'll be talking about this in the video. And again, guys, if you have any feedback or comments or questions, please use the comment section below. So the IEB students gets asked for their final year work, the practical work, to do the following. They normally get given a theme, which they get, the teachers and the students, around about the end of February, and then they get asked to produce at the end final artwork, and also do research and some process work in their visual diaries for this specific final artwork. And then they'll also, at the end of the year, or closer to the end of the year, they'll be asked to do a drawing, and that will happen in probably a hall or a classroom, and that would happen under exam conditions. So the drawing will take them 24 hours, and they'll come in every day for 6 hours until the 24 hours are complete to finish this specific drawing. So the drawing is also a part of this theme they'll be given at the end of Feb. So here's just a couple of things that I think, and I also picked up and learned through the years, because whether you're a teacher or a student, it's important that you actually know and manage your time in such a way that you can finish all these works. So here you'll see a couple of final works that was produced by some of the students from the school where I'm teaching. Some amazing great work. Some of them battled with certain areas, and some of them did really well in certain areas, and I thought it would be beneficial for both me and other teachers, but also for the students to actually know how they can improve on this. So I think the first thing we need to look at is the artist research they do. So the IAB will give the students a guideline and certain artists that they can do research about that is related to this theme. This theme that we see here was called Truth and Fiction, and the IAB will give the students and, like I said, the teachers a document, and it's also called paper 2. So this is the final paper, and they have most of the year to actually work on this. So they will be asked to produce these works, the final artwork and the final drawing, and their visual diary or diaries, as a setup or as a little space for their own exhibition. So yes, there's some good examples here. You will also see, if you look carefully, there's a little D and a little A with some of the works, and that just means the A is the final artworks and the D is the final drawing. So one of the things, like I said, is the artist research, and it's really important for these students to engage with the theme, but also with the artists, and either relate them to whatever they're doing conceptually, or maybe just in case of technique and medium, etc. So a lot of students do artist research just because they have to do it, and they don't necessarily relate this research back to the actual theme or to their own work. So that's one of the points I picked up, and it happened quite a lot with a lot of these students. The other thing is referencing, and I think referencing is a very important thing to talk about. So obviously, when you have your visual diary, you're gonna list all the images and where you actually found them. But the referencing I'm talking about is the references or the reference pictures you actually use to create your final artwork and your final drawing. So we did have a couple of cases of plagiarism, and that sometimes happens. And I think it's important for the student and the teacher to know when something is being plagiarized, and when they can, and what reference images they can use for what. First golden rule, and it's very obvious, is just don't create an artwork from an artwork. So you can't really actually take somebody's artwork from, example, Pinterest. I really try to ban my students from sites like Pinterest, etc. Even with ideas, it's important for the student to actually have their own visual journey through this journal or through the diary, that it makes it difficult sometimes if they just pick up an idea on Pinterest or one of these, even Instagram or one of these websites. So better to maybe ban them or advise them, always in a nice way, always in a way that they can actually understand why not. The second thing is the use of AI images. So the students are allowed to use AI images as references, but they need to show the complete process of how these images were actually generated. For example, the keywords, the input, what what AI generator they used, and how they actually went through the process. And even by doing that, when you have those images, it's always good to advise the student to compile or to create their own compositions from these images, so that it can be really helpful, but it can also limit your conceptual thinking, and just kind of like almost put the students in a little box where they don't come up with their own ideas. So yeah, referencing and reference images is very important. I think one of the main things is, and I think that's something that the students need to do and need to know how to do. And one thing where the teachers can also help, and I'll be going into it in a lot more depth on this channel, is photography, and the students taking their own photos, whether that's photos they use for referencing with a phone, or maybe a camera. So just teaching them basic photography skills, things like composition, your principles of design, and your elements of art in photography is also very important. How to work either the camera or the cell phone. It's a lot better for them to actually take their own reference pictures, and yeah, to use it like that. So here's a good example of the visual diary. and one of the students, and I'm just paging through it here, and you'll see there's the artist research the student actually did, and the student specifically really related well to these artists, and it helped quite a lot to actually for her to come up with the final artwork. So yes, also a lot of thumbnail drawings from references, practice drawings, doing experimentation, also playing around with medium, seeing what's working. It's also important to remember that the students often practice different mediums, different kinds of paint, but they don't always do it on different surfaces, so to explore that is quite important. And then again, you'll see there's a lot of references. We come now to process, and this is for the final artwork, and they have to record the process of their final artwork. Most of the final artwork needs to be done in class. So yes, that is just basically a couple of tips, and just to see the whole picture, basically in your grade 12 here, or if you're a teacher, this is what you're going to cover. There's going to be certain theory and certain tasks that we call the SBAs, and then you're also going to cover the practical, what we spoke about today. So the mark allocation basically works like this. Your paper 1, which will be the end of the year exam, the theory exam, will be marked out of 100, obviously, and out of 300 marks, the examination marks, 75%, that's the 300 marks, that will count 100. And then the paper 2, which is seen as the drawing exam, that is allocated out of 70. Task 1, the visual journal, that will basically be the visual journal for your PAT artwork. Now the PAT artwork is the artwork we spoke about. That'll be 40, and then your exam drawing, that will be 20. And then your those are the two visual diaries or visual journals, like the IB calls them. And then the task 3 PAT, that's the artwork. And then all the rest of them are SBA tasks, and that's theory, and we'll speak about that a bit later. So it's a very interesting marking process when it comes to the practical work. So what you will do as a teacher, you will obviously guide your students. You will be guided by the teacher through the year, and you will be doing your visual journal work most of the time, work on concepts. So we normally start with exploring the theme, looking at paper 2 from the IEB. They usually add some very interesting questions and some specific artists you can use to do some research on that. And you will start answering those questions, brainstorming the idea, whatever the theme might be. And like I said, for this year it was truth and fiction. So we are all awaiting next year's theme. And after the brainstorming, you will basically go into your artist research. You can, and I normally divide it into different sections, and I make sure that when they do the artist research to start off with, they start off with the artwork to see the bigger picture and what mediums they want to do or what they want to experiment with, and look at certain artists. It's just very important for the students to be able to use those artists and relate that to their own work. Normally we do 3 Southern African artists and then 3 international artists. And then after the artist research, you would obviously go into things like mood boards, references, and I'm definitely going to spend more time looking at references, like I mentioned earlier, and how to actually capture your own references by using photographs or your own photography, but also looking at how you can use AI to your advantage and how you should use it, so it's first of all legal, and secondly to your own benefit. And then after the reference images, you're gonna
obviously start with your experimentation, different techniques, but also different mediums, and then you're going to start your process slowly but surely. Document every single thing. And I always say to the students, and for those of you guys that's looking to study art, it's very important that you document every single step. Use your diary like a journal. There's going to be a lot of mistakes, but the only way you can actually move forward is by making these mistakes. And then the same process gets followed for your visual diary for your final drawing. So like I said, your artwork, you're going to do that at in class, and this is going to be a project that actually you work on through the year.
And again, guys, if you have any feedback or comments or questions, please use the comment section below.